Okay, we're going
Okay.
live. We're going
All right.
live.
I'm getting my phone in the right place. So, okay.
Okay.
All right. Is this all right?
I
Okay.
think so. We're both kind of half-assed here, but that's all right. That's all
I
right.
think it's casual. I think people are casual about live videos. I don't know. I'm not on, we're not. Oh, wow, look at this. A bunch of people join. Hi there.
Yeah. Hi. Now, I don't know, those of you who are joining us, we're not sure whether the invitation went to both my subscribers and Laura's. So if you are a subscriber of Laura, would you just kind of say hey or whatever in the messages so
It
we know?
doesn't look like it went to my subscribers, at least as far as I can tell. So I'm wondering if
Okay. Well,
wondering if there's a way for me to do that quickly right now.
let's see. How can I broadcast this further? Okay, I'm going to send the link to Substack.
I don't want that. Here we go.
And then
I'll just
yeah, and I just in the lower right-hand corner, there's that square with the up arrow. I just sent that to my subscribers. Now, are you on the Substack app? It's got to be on a mobile device.
I am. I just went on. I went on my computer just so that I could send it to my subscribers here.
Okay, but
Yeah.
otherwise, you are talking to me from a mobile device, right?
Yeah, I'm on the phone. Yep.
Okay, great. Great. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you joining us. We are going to get started in just a minute. If you have questions, let us know what they are. We're going to be focusing on the Iowa election results, of course. You're getting plenty of the other stuff and multiple different sources, but not a lot of discussion about what's going on in Iowa. So that's okay. There you go. That's what we're doing. So welcome. I'm a little rusty at this, so I've only done a few of these, and that was when it first came out. But Laura Belin is one of the premier analysts of Iowa politics. She can discuss international and national politics as well. But I thought for the purpose of, Laura, I lost your video.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Oh, I know why, because somebody was trying to call me, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I just declined to accept the call. So am I back now?
You're back. You're back, live and in person with the Stonewall Kitchen sign behind you. I like that. What's the origin of that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Stonewall Kitchen?
I am not actually seeing a Stonewall Kitchen sign. Oh, no, it's just the box. It's just the box that we're using to organize things. Yeah, I forgot that was there. So
All right. Well, so we've got a quorum. We've got over 30 people and growing. So let's go ahead and start talking about the election results in Iowa. What were you watching for last night, Laura? Obviously, we were all glued to the big races, but what were you looking for last night?
I mean, the biggest thing I was watching in Iowa was the school bond referendum in Des Moines, which passed, and it wasn't even close. School bond issues need a 60% yes vote, which is a pretty high bar. It failed in Cedar Rapids. The bond proposal got got a majority, but just under the 60% threshold. So I was pretty worried. I would say a month ago, the conventional wisdom was that given everything that happened with the former Des Moines superintendent, that video was not going to pass. But in any case, that was one thing that I was watching. I saw that Jill Shudak won the Council Bluffs mayoral election. She's the first woman elected mayor of that city. She also defeated an incumbent. So that was interesting. The school board races seem to go fairly well for the progressive candidates around the Des Moines metro. I haven't finished chronicling all around the state. I saw in Dubuque, it was a bit of a mixed bag with some Democratic-backed candidates winning and some Republican-backed candidates winning. And I should explain, local elections in Iowa are not partisan, but increasingly we see local party activists getting much more involved in these school board and city races. So even though voters are not seeing anyone's party affiliation, I feel that the elections are developing more of a partisan tinge to them.
Laura, I noticed on Facebook. Are you hearing that feedback, by the way? Are you hearing?
Oh, I am hearing a little bit of feedback.
I'm not sure why that is. Anyway, so you just keep talking. Tell me about the Moms for Liberty races and how they did.
Well, the Moms for Liberty candidates were not as loud and proud this year. A couple of years ago, so I'll go back 4 years. In 2021, the school board elections were very mixed, with like some progressive candidates doing well and then quite a few Moms for Liberty candidates doing well, especially in places like Ankeny and Johnston. And then in 2023, the legislature passed a whole bunch of really sweeping education legislation, starting with the school voucher bill, the school book ban, the forced outing of trans students, the school bathroom bill. And there was a big backlash in the 2023 school board races where just overall, with very few exceptions, progressive school board candidates did well in Iowa, and the Moms for Liberty or book banning candidates did poorly. And we saw quite a lot of races where candidates were running on a slate. Like if there were 3 seats up, there would be 3 Moms for Liberty backed candidates and then 3 candidates backed by more progressive forces. But this year, what I noticed was that there weren't as many people running expressly on that, like, hey, we're Moms for Liberty candidates. But one place where there was a little bit of a slate effect was in Johnston, and the 3 progressive public school advocacy candidates won pretty handily over the 3 conservative candidates in the Johnston school board races. And in Ankeny, it also looks like, I'm just looking, that there were 2 candidates for school board in Ankeny endorsed by the Iowa State Education Association, which is the major teachers union, and it looks like they both won. So I think that the Moms for Liberty candidates are maybe a little bit on their I think they've woken up to the fact that it's not that popular an agenda for public schools. Or maybe it could be that they're, with the vouchers being fully implemented, that they're just focusing more on private schools rather than trying to take over public school boards. That's another possibility.
Laura, can you see the chat?
I don't know that I can see it. I see Carol. Oh, no, I can see a few comments. Yes. Carol had a group running in a pack. They all lost school board and council mayor. Margaret, was that? Peg. That's Peg. Was that when you said a group running in a pack? Was that the progressive candidates or the more conservative candidates in Carol? Because I kind of missed that. So I can't see like the full scope. I can just see the most recent things in the chat. So I don't know how to make it.
Okay. Margaret says Carol had a group running. I think she's referring to Moms for Liberty, and they all lost.
They all not progressive, right? Okay, yeah. So yeah, and Carol, I think 2 years ago, also in Carol, the progressive candidates did well. I mean, 2 years ago, it was very noticeable, just kind of coast to coast in Iowa, Sioux City, Davenport, Pleasant Valley. I mean, it was a very strong referendum against the Moms for Liberty type school board candidates. But we just didn't see as much of that. And I also don't know, I feel like in 2021, COVID really affected the school board election. Oh, now I'm getting an echo. Why did that just happen? Anyway, in 2021, the pandemic.
Because I tried my headset. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Is it better? I don't hear the echo right now. Are you still getting the feedback though?
It's more important. It's more important for them to hear you than me.
So in 2021, there were all these controversies over whether schools should have mask mandates and in-person instruction. And so that, I think, affected the school board races. And those are all, I mean, at this point, schools are not even allowed to have mask mandates. No school district in Iowa is having remote instruction, really. So I think that just kind of took those issues off the table. Jefferson has an interesting comment.
Do you see his?
Rick, Jefferson had a 3-pack of conservative candidates running for city council and another one for school board. They all lost. Yeah, so we're seeing these slate candidacies. I think it's a really interesting trend in Iowa politics. And I know some people don't like it, but I actually think it's helpful. It's hard as a voter to research every individual school board and city council candidate in your area. And I think that if you can get it, if I think candidates running together on a slate makes a lot of sense. So people have some clue if there are 6 candidates and I can only vote for 3, and you want to vote for 3 who are relatively like-minded. So I personally, I don't have an issue with candidates running on a slate, but I know I sometimes see people complaining that they think that's good. Okay, as a precinct worker, Mary McCarthy says the younger voters. We had 328 voters in my precinct, which was high for a midterm. Oh, there was a tax vote. I see in Iowa City. So let's see. Exira, Western Iowa, the district went to a 4-day school week this school year due to funding troubles, and 2 progressives were elected last night with the highest vote totals out of 7 candidates. That's interesting. I think schools switching to 4-day weeks was a big factor in the 2010s. That was a big factor in Kansas, in the state kind of swinging toward electing a Democrat as governor in 2018, because the Kansas was like a decade ahead of Iowa on the curve of slashing taxes and implementing some extreme conservative policies, and there was a backlash to that. So I think if I'm Rob Sand, I'm probably pretty happy with how everything went last night. It certainly seems like Democratic-minded voters are pretty fired up in Iowa. So.
Do you think
Do you think
any of the
candidates
running for U.S. Senate will think they're the next New York City mayor-style candidate?
I don't think so. I mean, no, other than just talking about affordability. Actually, I saw that Republicans were trying to say Zach Walz is the Mamdani of Iowa or something crazy. I don't know. There aren't very many. There are a few city council candidates in Iowa who are running as Democratic Socialists. I know there was one in Des Moines, but it's not. I don't think that that's very likely. I think it's probable that Republicans are going to try to talk about Mamdani a lot around the country next year, just like they were trying to tie every Democrat to Nancy Pelosi in 2020. So I think if I'm Zach Nunn and Mariannette Miller Meeks, I'm a little bit worried by what I just saw, because the swing just in many, many races in many states last night, the swing was pretty large. I mean, enough to take out both Zach Nunn and Mariannette Miller Meeks if we see that. Of course, off-year elections are not always predictive, but in 2018, it was a pretty good election for Democrats in Iowa.
Laura, both Jim Sayers and Lyle Muller have comments.
Okay, I'm seeing Jim Sayers. Okay, the Humboldt schools both ended up. Oh, Jim, it sounds like you had some bond issues fail because they ended up with about 56%. Clear Creek Amana frequently floats bond issues, deals with class space to keep up with growth in Tiffin, but only had people running unopposed in 2 of the 5 districts. And 2 seats that required write-ins because no candidates were on the ballot. That is very strange. So Lyle, what happened with that bond issue? I know that it looks like in the Des Moines area, it looks like all of the bond issues passed. I'm just looking at the
Lyle, I'm going to invite you to join us. I can only have 2 guests at a time, but since I'm echoing, I'm going to let you two take it from here. If you don't mind joining us. Since I teach Substack classes, I got to figure out what the heck's going on.
All right, I'm just trying to see if the Southeast Polk bond issue passed here.
By the way, any of you on the call have questions, please put them in the chat.
Looks like Southeast Polk passed. It looks like in the Des Moines area, I think all of the bond issues passed for the schools. So might be It might be close in the Southeast poll. I guess they didn't have all the votes counted last night. So I'm not sure.
Okay, Lyle, I
sent
sent you an
an
invitation. I
I
hope it works. Okay. Margaret?
Oh, no. Okay.
It
No bond
has
issue
not-
this year, Lyle says. Okay. Bond issue failed in Sac County and then in the IKM Manning district in the Carroll area. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Tony Thompson confirms the Southeast Polk bond passed. It was close on the Des Moines Register website. Okay. Dubuque Middle School bond issue failed 57-43. Diane Gibson says. So yeah, real mixed bag for the bond issues then around the state. Jeff Morrison wrote something about the fact that sometimes when you have school district consolidations around Iowa, then the people in the communities that lost the school, they don't want to vote for the bond issues going forward. So that can be an issue. I know, but I was really surprised that the Des Moines school bond, the last time I looked, it had 74%. So that's really high. Okay, I think those headsets, I think you got to take off the headphones. There's something about the headsets that don't seem to work very well with, there's a lot of feedback there with Lyle. Can you unplug the headsets maybe? Yep, that's better. Okay, except that now I can't hear you, Lyle. No.
Okay.
Is that
How
better?
is this?
Yeah, okay, now I can hear you. Yep.
And there's the echo.
And Julie, you muted yourself, so I can't hear what you're saying.
So when we get this all figured out, technology-wise, this is going to be really cool. We have 81 people on the call. So Lyle, what's your take on the election results?
Well, I certainly was interested in what's on nationally, but in Iowa, I was a poll worker yesterday. And one thing I noticed was a lot of people in North Liberty voting just on the local option sales tax on the ballot, but not on other things, such as city council and the school board. And the school board was contested in Iowa City. Some of the cities in North Liberty were not contested. Clear Creek and Manna was interesting, as pointed out in the chat. The last time we had a bond issue was 2022, and the time before that was 2017. We're continually building schools here because of the rapid growth of Tiffin. And yet there were 5 seats open for the Tiffin, the Clear Creek Amana School District. 2 of the seats were not contested. There was just one candidate. Another seat, there were 2 candidates, and then in 2 seats, there were it was just no candidate, and so there were write-ins. So we had to spend last night a lot of time in our precinct and in every precinct in the Clear Creek Amana School District going through the ballots that we had. We had 235 in North Liberty District 1. Went through those and had to tally up the votes for the write-ins. I had joked to my wife that I was going to write myself in, but I was afraid I would get elected with 1 vote. But there were a couple of candidates who had a lot of traction, and by a lot of traction, I mean that unofficially until the canvass, 9 votes for a candidate and 8 votes for a candidate. So it was just very interesting to see what was going on just in Johnson County in North Liberty. And to explain North Liberty, it actually is in 2 different school districts. So we were able to see the balloting for the Iowa City School District and also Clear Creek Amana there.
So Lyle, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. And no echo. I don't know what happened. You're a longtime observer of elections. What's your takeaway from yesterday's results?
Well, I thought in California, Virginia, and New Jersey, and New York, there were clear indications that the Democrats were steamrolling Republicans, and I haven't seen that in a long time. And, you can argue that Virginia always kind of goes back and forth. New Jersey has gone back and forth. New York, Como had baggage, and in California, it's a pretty blue state. But the fact that Democrats were willing to come out and just really fight back at the ballot box, I thought was really a loud message. And I agree with Lauren that Miller, Meeks, and Nunn ought to be worried. I don't know what to expect out of the Senate race. Ashley Hinson is a good messenger. She does a good job of reading her script and memorizing it and looking good while she says it. But Northwest Iowa is always going to be conservative, and the last Democrat was Berkeley Bedell there, and he was not super liberal. And what goes on up in Northeast Iowa, I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting 2 years and or a year and a half or a year going up to the primary, less than a year. And I think that the fact that Randy Feenstra has come out against Rob Sand, as Laura has pointed out in her columns, says a lot about what Randy Feenstra's polling is showing him.
I saw Dave Price had a question in the chat just about, he said he's always hesitant to make broad predictions following elections as we look ahead to another election that's a year away, but he felt that these results should excite Democrats as they look ahead to 2026. And I absolutely agree. And part of the reason is that it wasn't just in New Jersey and Virginia. I mean, there were good results for Democrats, even in county races, city races in Pennsylvania, and just all kinds of places around the country. And when I think about Cindy Axne winning in 2018, defeating David Young, an incumbent, a really key element for her was high turnout in Polk County, and especially her performance in the suburbs of Des Moines. And if anything, the Democrats are better organized now in the suburbs of Des Moines than they were in 2017, 2018. So I think, like I said, I mean, I'm just going to repeat that I think that this should worry Zach Nunn and Marionette Miller Meeks. And also, Donald Trump just came out. He endorsed Miller Meeks on Sunday. He had previously endorsed Zach Nunn. They've both absolutely tried to join themselves at the hip to Donald Trump, and that could be a problem. My guest author, Dan Guild, who doesn't live in Iowa, but he follows Iowa elections closely as well as national elections, and he wrote something for me yesterday that midterms do tend to be a referendum on the president, and the national polling that we have so far suggests that the 2026 midterms, even more than usual, are going to be a referendum on Donald Trump. So if that's true, that could be pretty bad. It's hard to see how Trump can turn things around and become a lot more popular between now and next November.
When I saw that endorsement for Marionette Miller Meeks, my thought was thanks a lot, because it was coming, as the sky was kind of falling, and even Trump conceded yesterday, right? And in his usual way of blaming others, even though he's the head of the Republican Party, Trump wasn't on the ballot, so they lost. So he knows there's problems. The person I'm wondering about is Jeff Kaufman and what his thoughts are this morning, and the huddling that he's doing with Republicans in Iowa to try to figure out what to do.
I'll tell you what, that second congressional district covering Northeast Iowa, I absolutely believe that's in play. I think a lot depends on who the Republicans nominate, but I could easily see, I mean, that district voted for Trump by about a 10-point margin, whereas the first district covering Southeast Iowa voted for Trump by about an 8.5-point margin. So it's a little bit more Republican leaning, but with no incumbent there because Ashley Hinson is running for Senate. I think there's an opening if the Republicans nominate someone wacky or someone without strong ties to the district. So I absolutely think that that's in play. Of course, with the redistricting referendum that we just saw in California and with Virginia possibly now moving ahead with redistricting, it could be that the Democrats have kind of like an embarrassment of riches across the country in terms of seats they can play for. So it's not clear whether the second district of Iowa is going to rise to the top. But the first and third districts will definitely be among the top battlegrounds in the entire country.
Now all the Democrats need is a clear, excitable message with a clear, excitable leader, something they've not been good at.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I'm not sure that Mikey Sherrill had such a clear message. Abigail Spanberger, I mean, I think that's a lot of different kinds of candidates were winning yesterday. That's what I saw from the coverage that I watched last night. It kind of seemed like, obviously, Mamdani won in New York, but you had very moderate centrist Democrats winning in lots of other races. So maybe they don't have to have one message. Maybe they can have lots of different messages. I mean, the Democrats broke the Republican supermajority in Mississippi. So in one of the chambers of the Mississippi legislature. So that was kind of interesting. And in Virginia, the Democrats have the largest Virginia House of Delegates majority that they've had in like 35 years right now. So, but that could also be, I mean, Virginia might be a different case because DOGE and the shutdown affects Virginia so much more than it affects a state like Iowa. But
Lyle, at your precinct, did you pick up any reasons, motivations for people to come to the polls that may not typically come in a off-year election like this?
It appeared as though the local option sales tax was what brought them. Because we were talking about, even though the numbers were small, because it's that odd numbered year vote, even though the numbers were small, we had more people than we expected. And as we were going through the ballots just to audit how many ballots we had to check for the write-ins, which you have to do before we send it to the auditor's office, the fact that there were ballots marked only for local option sales tax told me anecdotally that's what they were voting on, that they were not that much worried about what was going on in their school district nor their town. And let me say something about the idea of going through the ballots to count them. We hear all of this junk about our corrupt elections and all of this type of thing. I can tell you as a poll worker, there are so many safeguards that it's really difficult to game a system in the elections. We know that when Donald Trump does this trope, that he's doing it in order to delegitimize the people who beat him. But all of the different things we had to sign yesterday, and there were affidavits, the different types of forms we had to sign a form saying that we checked the machine beforehand, we checked the machine afterward, that we signed a form that was put across and sealed the ballots, another form that sealed the envelope that went into, and another envelope that sealed that. And we had to sign each and every one of those as poll workers. And of course, in Iowa, the poll workers are evenly distributed between political parties. I'm no party. And so I was kind of the, another person there. But you had a central committee member from the Republican Party, someone from the Democratic Party. And we were all signing this stuff. You have to lock a box after the vote is done. Then you lock the box that the box is in, and sign a paper saying that you did that. So there are a lot of safeguards, and that was just at the poll. Now it goes to the canvas, where they'll do that again.
We had a question in the chat about the local option sales tax in Johnson County, and I'm just looking. KCRG says 5 Johnson County cities all pass local option sales tax. So that would be Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, Shueyville, and Oxford.
Yeah, and interestingly, all of those cities chose to put it on the ballot individually. The last time a local option sales tax was tried within this many towns in Johnson County, all of the towns did it together. And so you had to approve it in every town for it to be effective in every town. The reasoning being that you didn't want to have a local option sales tax in Coralville, but not in Iowa City, therefore making Iowa City more competitive. This time, each city did it on their own. And in Iowa City, this, crazy liberal town, they overwhelmingly approved the local option sales tax. All of the towns did, in fact.
Interesting. Any other questions? We've got over 104 people on the call, which is pretty amazing considering we didn't have a lot of notice for this, but we're definitely going to do more of these kinds of things because it's a great way to respond to what's going on just in the state of Iowa. Susie Olson has a question. What do you think about Paul Pate's solution to the bad ballots in Warren County? Laura, do you have an opinion about that?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I need to read up on the Warren County. I was just looking at Tony Thompson's question about, is it an excitable message, a message of calm and clarity to differentiate from the chaos? I think that Elliot Morris had a good post this morning that said that it seems like one big takeaway globally is that voters didn't really know what they were going to be getting from Trump 2.0, and now they see it and they don't like it. So there could be a reaction against the chaos of Trump, but I think that there is, obviously, in the New York City race, I mean, excitement was a huge factor. There was much higher turnout than among young people than we've ever seen before. And somebody, I can't remember who, mentioned last night that Andrew Cuomo's vote total, however many votes he got, would have been enough to win any other New York City mayoral race this century, but he only was in like the low 42% because the turnout was so much higher across the city. So I think exciting voters is going to be important. But I think that the midterm elections in Iowa are going to be both a turnout mobilization question and a persuasion election. Certainly the statewide elections, there's no way Democrats can win a statewide election just by really exciting and mobilizing the base. They're going to have a very strong persuasion effort. And I think that's true in the congressional races as well.
They're sending reports they had a clean sweep, and Chris, I believe you're in Jefferson County, right? We for city council and school board candidates, and the community college bond issue passed too. Is that correct, Chris? Let me see. Oh, Bob Leonard's on the call. I wish I could have more of you live, but we'll just work with what we have. Any other questions or comments from around the callers on the state? I see we have people from all over the state, which is fabulous. Greene County, sorry, Jefferson in Greene County. I do that all the time. Bad me. Okay. Anything else, Laura?
I'm just looking. So I see that there was a printing error in some of the Warren County ballots for Des Moines School Board, and it looks like the Secretary of State's office said ballots with the error on them will be used until polls closed, and the top 2 vote getters will be considered winners. I'm just not sure. I feel like that's a very unusual situation, and I just don't know what Iowa code says about if there's an error on the ballots. It sounds like there was an error on the sample ballots rather than the regular ballots. So in any case, the Des Moines school board races were not as competitive as they have been sometimes in the past. And the Des Moines city council races, there was only one ward. Actually, we didn't mention Rob Barron, who's a Latino candidate who won pretty decisively in the first Ward 1 in Des Moines that covers the northwest side. So I saw somebody sent me a video of his acceptance speech, and he said something like, it's the first time that the young progressive Latino was actually the well-funded candidate.
So we had about double the number of people on the call since we started. Laura, why don't you recap what we talked about at the beginning about your take on Iowa results?
Yeah, so I was very interested that the Des Moines School Bond Initiative passed very easily. It sounds like around the state, it was more of a mixed bag for school bond issues. But given the scandal that happened with the former superintendent in Des Moines, I think a month ago, people thought there was probably no hope of that bond issue passing. But it shows that a lot of voters were able to separate whatever they feel about the school board from what the funding they think that the schools need. So I thought that was very important. And I think in the suburbs of Des Moines, in the Des Moines metro generally, we saw progressive school board candidates endorsed by the Iowa State Education Association, which is the largest teachers union. That they were successful, and the more conservative candidates were not as successful last night. So that continues a trend we saw in the school board races in 2023. And I wanted to mention that I don't know what the issues were in Cedar Rapids. It looked like some of the incumbents lost in Cedar Rapids school board races and their school bond referendum failed. So I'll be interested to hear from people in Cedar Rapids who are following that more closely. But Jill Shudak won the Council Bluffs mayoral election. She defeated incumbent. She's the first woman elected mayor in Council Bluffs history. And so that was a big win. The local Democrats and labor activists were strongly supporting her candidacy. I think I saw J.D. Scholten was in Council Bluffs recently knocking doors for her. So that was a big win.
Lyle, anything about Cedar Rapids you want to say?
I haven't had a chance to read much on it yet. I got in late, last night and couldn't unwind. So I haven't read the coverage. I will say that, from my experiences when I was up in Cedar Rapids, is that they're traditionally is distrust of the school board because of how often it does things secret, which then destroys their efforts to do bond issues. So as far as bond issues sounds, and hopefully people are picking this up when they're hearing it twice from me.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Again.
But traditionally people have been opposed to bond issues there. And it's real hard to get them set because a lot of times because of the things that are perceived to be done in secret. And when I say perceived to be, I talk about voters, but also the Cedar Rapids Gazette and Randy Evans and people like that who get upset with how they do things.
So Dave Price is on the call. He said he appreciates what Tony brought up, that he's heard various schools of thought for Democrats as they work toward 2026 midterms, fight back Trump-like against Trump regarding Governor Newsom, or they should offer calm focus on how Trump policies are hurting Americans. Well, we shall see. Dave, I wish I could get you on this call. We're going to have to figure this out because already we have about 119 on this call, so it's worth getting this technology thing worked out so we can do these kinds of things more often. Chris Henning says she heard that the Warren County ballot was the real ballot, not the sample ballot, so we got to get that clarified. When Laura is muted, the echo goes away. Ding, ding, ding. Well, that's good to know. Okay, any other questions for those of you on the call, in the chat, or any other observations about yesterday's election, assuming you went? Bob Leonard says Moms for Liberty City Council types lost in Pella. Okay.
Wow. In Pella?
That's interesting. Yeah.
All right. Another country heard from. Okay. Well, any final remarks? I think this has been a fabulous conversation, even though we had technical difficulties. Laura?
For people who joined late, I mentioned earlier that in 2018, when Cindy Axne won that congressional race in the 3rd District, a really key element was the vote in the suburbs of Des Moines. And the school board and city races in the Des Moines suburbs were very successful last night for the Democratic or progressive candidates. And the local Democrats are very well organized. So I think that Zach Nunn has to be very worried right now.
Okay, Lyle, how about you?
Clear Creek Amana School District deals with a lot of growth issues, and apparently nobody wants to run it on the school board. And the other thing is that we might be at that tipping point with independent voters. They've just had enough of this junk that they've been hearing. But Democrats have shot themselves in the foot before when that tipping point is reached. We'll see if they can stay on message. Roxanne seems to be that kind of person. And the people running for the Senate nomination seem to be those kinds of people, the people you've had on talking about the different congressional seats seem to be those kinds of people. Be interesting to see if they can stay the course.
By the way, Jim Sayers asks, is Iowa Secretary of State website the best place to view official results for all elections? How would you answer that, Laura? Or Lyle? No.
There's often a big delay. I like to look at the local newspaper websites, but the SOS website should eventually have the results on there.
The unofficial results are there. The official results will be posted after canvasses.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for your thanks for us doing this on such short notice. Lyle, you were even shorter notice than Laura.
I was making coffee.
Well, this is great, and we'll do these kinds of things with a little more thought, and I'll figure out the technical end at some point. So thank you all for joining us. I will have Josh Turek and Zach Walls on my podcast coming up, and other candidates as well. I just want to say the Substack technology gives us this opportunity to bring people who are running for office to all of you who can join and listen to something other than a soundbite or a commercial message. And I think it's a platform that we really appreciate and want to take advantage of. And I thank you all for supporting us. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.